Hi, I'm Marie. Welcome to 50 Plus Home and Gardening. Today I want to show you a little bit about design. How do I start a garden? The first step in design is number one, to get your color wheel. Every garden needs only 3 colors. A primary color, maybe half of your garden in this color. We've chose white. And then your secondary color, maybe 1/3 of your garden. Purple, it's a second color. And then we chose a third color, pink. So after you establish your yard, you can add a splash of other colors that may match. So if you have colored pencils, draw a circle, put a 1/6 pie pieces. It doesn't have to be exactly even. Then what you want to do is you can try another color and see if you like it. A 4th color is pretty scary, so I would establish yourself with 3 colors, 3 main colors first, and then draw in some colors and say, ooh, a splash of blue with this purple would be nice if you have a drift of purple. So you'd have purple, 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 a bunch of white. You could add a splash of blue and that may look good. You could try it over by your pink and say, oh, I really like the pink next to the blue, so that could be a splash of a 4th color. But try again to do only 3 colors in the beginning. I'm putting some blue over here. That looks good on the white. So if I had a 4th choice, it could be blue. Another 4th color could be a splash of orange. We'll try this color before you stick it on. I think orange looks really good with purple. A certain shade may look good with pink. It may be too sharp, but of course it sometimes I don't really like orange even with white, so it depends on what color of white. So if you went to the shops to get flowers, I would put them together to see if you can stand those 2 colors together, because if this is a creamy white, that may look good with orange, but if this is a bright white, that orange may look too intense. So get some colored pencils, do a drawing, start coloring colors that please you, that you're happy with, that makes you feel good in it, and then see what colors you can add as a 4th. But in the beginning of your garden, stick with 3 colors: a primary, your secondary, purple, and your 3rd. Okay, here's another drawing. You have your primary color as pink. And you notice that my drawing is not exactly half. It doesn't matter how large this area, as long as it's the most. So one color that you pick is a prominent color. Your secondary would be a 3rd, and this is a purple, and then you have a very small amount of blue. And if you wanted to add an extra color after you establish those 3 in your garden, you could maybe see how it pops with this new color and try it before you put it in your garden. So I like it next to the blue, maybe an orange next to the purple, but I don't like it next to the pink. So you'd have to try these 2 colors. And also, if you had a hot pink or a pastel pink, that may look better. But when you're in the shops to get garden colors, you want to choose, if it is a 4th color, you make sure that your existing, especially if they're perennials, they're pretty permanent, to get the first basic 3 done first, and then if you really want to add some splashes, you can add maybe some annuals that will go away the next year, and so it won't be a waste. If you got a perennial that it has a strong color and that's your fourth color, whoa, you may just not like your garden anymore. So colors really matter. It has a mood. It makes you happy, moody. Lots of things can happen with color, and I want you to feel comfortable in your garden. So be careful with this fourth color. Try to stick with the 3, and we'll start there. So remember, your house color is a very primary color in the overall garden. So you have yellow, a yellow house. So let's start there. This will be your primary color, yellow. The house is large, and it will make a difference on all the plants that you pick. This crepe myrtle is permanent. So you can see that they chose a hot pink, and that looks really good against the yellow. So I would say this would be their secondary, because even though you can't see the whole house, a house is a large piece in your garden. It covers a lot of space. So they've chosen yellow as their primary, and then they have their secondary as a large crepe myrtle and has a lot of hot pinks. And they chose a third color that's similar to this. It's more of a salmon, and that salmon goes really well with the yellow. So they stayed in the same primary colors, pink and a different blush of pink, salmon, and actually it's even more pastel pink right here. There is another color which actually is the same as the house. So you've got yellow flowers, yellow house, that's your primary. Secondary would be your hot pink, and your third choice in this color is salmon. Those are a really pretty choice. There is not a fourth color in here, and that really makes this house stand out. So in order to find out something that you like, I want you to go through magazines and cut out pictures that you love and put it in a book. Even if it's not a permanent book, put it in a book of all the things that you love so that you can get the colors that you like. So I have a page of fun things that I like color-wise. There's food items on here. I've got a fence that I love, and there's some colors in this picture that I like. So whatever color you like, you'll start to see that you're adding those to your books, and then you'll know your 3 colors that you want. Then you can start looking in the garden centers. Okay, you have another picture here. You have a white house, which is the prominent color. So try to make sure you look at your house, what is the color, and pick that as your prominent primary color. So this is a white house. There is, because it's sort of hidden, they have green coming up. This is obviously a European house. They've got all this green coming up. So actually the white doesn't show as much. So I'd have to see this from another view, or in the winter time when these things are not blooming. These look like azaleas. So this is sometime in the spring where everything, I see roses kind of in this picture. And I think these are either azaleas or roses coming up. Maybe it's a camellia bush. But you could either count this as prominently white if there is a lot of white in the winter, or I don't know, this gray roof is pretty low and it's taken over a lot of color. So, but let's just, for the sake of, this is a large home, that this is a white house. So that would be my primary color, and then I'd have secondary colors. Now they've chose a red azalea, which is not going to be there all season. So, but you know, maybe some of these other little things that haven't come up yet, like I see a little spark of red in this bush. So this may be another type of azalea, or it's hard to see because it's far away, maybe a rose bush. But he stayed, these roses are pink, and he's got pink, and then he's got red. So he has 3 beautiful colors, white, pink, and red. And I can see he used a little white here. If this was my house, I would add a little bit more white on the floor to pop this house. A lot of times if you pick up the house color, it'll really shine the whole property. Because if this is primary, I want to see that primary here and there. It's a lot of green in this house, and that's taking over some of the color. Okay, this is a fun garden. This is a nice bright pumpkin orange. and he's brought pumpkins into this. Now this is not a house, obviously a beautiful shed or shop or garden little house. It's the cutest thing I've ever seen. I love the colors. So we would say the primary color would be orange, and he's brought in the orange with pumpkins. Now, of course, this is only in the fall, so if he wanted to, he could have brought maybe some orange flowers in the gardens here. It's a great use of all the pumpkins. And then he added yellow. But I see he's kind of brought the green in. I know I told you don't add green as a color, but he has green shutters, so he's actually wanting to accent the green and bring it out. Now this is a light green, so the white does stand out as a second color, and if he wanted to, he could put white in the garden as well to bring the house out, and just a little bit. Of course, you know, he's got the green shutters and the green leaves, so you don't need to add any green. Obviously all the foliage is green, but he's added the third color, and that's yellow. So I would say the three colors in this this yard would be the orange primary, the white, and he could have added white flowers in the garden, which would have really popped the white in the trim, and then a spark of yellow flowers randomly all around. Very cute. Love those three colors. Really beautiful. So the second step we're going to talk about is, are you formal or informal? So I want to take a look at this yard. This yard, even though it's has a large expanse, the house is over here. This looks like some sort of a driveway. It mostly has very tidy, tamed, one height is a very tidy, formal look. Now, I can't really see what's going on back here. This may be more of an informal, but it looks like from the house out to his driveway, all this grass and everything being one height, that makes a very formal look. Here's an example of a very informal look. You've got the house, very straight structure, and then you have an array of heights down to the fence, heights of flowers. That is going to be an informal look. So you can decide, I want to keep this picture because it has informal. That's the kind of personality I am. I love informal look. Here's another picture. Here's the house. The house is very formal, straight lines, detailed, and then they have it can be overgrown, but that is also an informal look. But huge shrubs, not tamed. The flowers are not tamed. Different sizes would make an informal look. So you have very high, mediums, lows. This really makes an informal garden look. So if you love that, keep magazine cutouts that have that look and try to achieve that with looking at the picture again and again. Take pictures of your house and seeing how you can achieve that. It's mostly different heights that makes an informal garden. This is considered a formal garden because you have the same thing on one side as you do the other. Now the windows are not exactly, but they have balancing uprights, things that are growing on the house, very trimmed and neat. And then they have lollipop trees, the same on one side as the other. And then you come down here, they have two urns that are very similar, and then they have the brickwork is very similar on both sides. So, and the walkway is straight up the middle. So this would be a formal garden setting. Now you can be anywhere in between this, but this is more on the formal side. Equal sides and a little bit more neat, not allowed to escape and come out from that. So this is called formal. All right, this garden is also formal. Most things are the same height. This little ha-ha wall is the same height. The flowers in it, they've got lollipop trees, very tamed, and this is a lollipop tree here, and they have trees on the outside. Very neat and tidy. This is a very, very tight garden, and so this would be considered a formal garden. So if you wanted to keep magazine cutouts that look like this, then you may be a formal garden person, or you know, you can relax it a little bit based on your own style. You can have a little bit of whimsy and both, but this is what more of a formal style would look like. The next step we're going to look at is, what is your style? Are you country style, modern, traditional? Here's a country style of landscape. This would have country style is a lot of times an informal style of planting, lots of fences. So take pictures of things that you love and see if that's your style. Are you country style? So do you have a suburban style and want to go more country in your suburban setting? You can add this to be a little less formal and add some informality to this, and it would start to look a little country. Here's a backyard of a suburban house. All you'd need to do, instead of having things that are the same height, which makes it look formal, to make it country style, you would add a lot more heights and a lot more things that go a little bit more on the carefree side, and this would be more of a country backyard. This is an example of a country with an informal planting, a country style. Here's a suburban house. It looks like he lives in a country setting. You could either plant these with a little bit more free style garden plants, and this would make this look a lot more country. He's added a little formality to his setting, and that calms down the country look and makes that more formal. But if you wanted to take this house and make it more country, he has like a little garden plant. He could have a lot more of these up here, and it would be a really country home. Here's a stately country house that is, it looks like it could be in a suburban area, a little bit upscale, but this would be more like a traditional style. Very neat rows of flowering or shrubs, and very tidy, only a few relaxed pieces. This would be more of a traditional style. If you wanted to keep it that way, I would go for more formal plantings such as boxwoods that are kept cut. Here's another example of a suburban house. He has some country elements, some forestry, and if he kept a lot of these plants a little bit more informal, this would be a very country looking home. This is a suburban house, and he has made himself a country setting. Lots of trees, lots of informal heights, and lots of uncut plantings makes this a country backyard. This is a traditional style. They have just a few plantings and mostly grass, and it's mostly around the border of the house. Looks like some lilacs and some traditional formal style plantings, a large tree, another nice beautiful tree right here, and a standard suburban, it's hard to see because you can't see the other houses, but very traditional style. If you had an Italian style home or a stone house, you could add a lot of stone fencing and grapevines, and you would have an Italian look. So that would be fun. And they have a lot of shrubbery that are kept formal. So formal. The grapes would be a little informal, but they like to do rows. So they have formal gardens lots of stonework. This is a very European style or Italian. Here's a very cottage style. Awnings make a very cottage style look. Lots of flowers, lots of roses, lots of informal plantings adds to a cottage style home. This is a modern style. Modern style has most of the shrubs at the same level. Now they've picked two different levels here. The palms are one level and everything else is very short, tidy, and neat. The grasses that are next to the house are the same kind. Usually modern homes have 1, 2, or 3 different texture of plants or heights of plants so that it has a really neat, clean, tidy look. This house is also modern. They have tied in the plants in the pots are the same height, but they've made the yellow just like the door match. Not too many other things. They've used rocks at the same level. The grass clumps are exactly the same height. That's what makes a modern style. 1 or 2 plants the same height. Here's another modern style. All the yuccas are the same height, and there are many of them. Modern styles, and this grass, liriope or whatever's on the bottom, is also at the same height, and there are many of them. So in a modern style, you want to choose 1 or 2 different plantings, and you want to have many of them, and that's what makes a modern style. Okay, the next thing we want to talk about is texture. So this is a garden that has very little texture. Only these trees have a lot of different textures. And this one, it looks like a fall picture. Some of the leaves have already gone. But this landscape has mostly grass, so you have one level. So this adds to a formal style, not too many textures, just the trees. So the less texture you have, the more it becomes a formal garden. This garden has very little texture. It has lots of boxwoods. They're kept in check, and then they have another row, a different size, that is also kept in check. So they have one texture mostly. It's these boxwoods. That's the showiest part of this house. Just a little bit of ruffled texture. So this would also make your home a very formal cottage look. This garden has a lot of boxwood, one texture, and then they have a little spice it's kept in check inside these boxes. This is a very formal European garden, and the splash of either what I call country or informal is very limited. So you can actually play and use both. If you want a European style, it would be lots of brick, lots of stone, lots of boxwood, lots of the same height. Keep in check the things that are in the boxes so they don't get out of hand, so it doesn't look too informal, although some European countrysides are very informal. So the texture in this is mostly the boxwood, same height. Here's a garden with 3 different textures. Actually, there's a 4th lower one right here. Looks like sedum or something like that. So they have 3 different textures. This really adds to, actually there's a 4th one back here, looks like some roses or something. So you have some grasses, and you have, looks like coreopsis. So what you can do is you can have many size, height, textures, and this will become more informal and country style. This home is very country, and they have a lot of plants in front of their front yard. This is a porch, and it looks like you come out right down here, but they only have one formal item. Everything else in this garden is got a lot of texture. Here's a texture here that is different, more straight lines. Here's flowers, lots of little textures. Here's a formal line of boxwoods, very tidy cut. And then you have a few pots that add to this garden. Here's some more stick style texture. This would definitely lean towards country. The more textures you have, the more country informal you get. So if you want to stay more formal, you want to get things that are either the same height or something that you cut into a shape and they're all the same. That would be formal garden. Here's a garden with a lot of texture. This Canis plant adds a lot of texture. This is almost a Hawaiian style. They have hosta leaves. They add kind of a tropical feel. This is tropical, and also look at the colors. It's amazing. I love it. And this is looks like begonias. That adds a lot of tropical feel. A lot of flowers add texture. These big leaves add texture. Then you have little leaves that add texture, and then smaller leaves, either a boxwood or azalea. It's hard to tell what that is. And then they have some trees in the background. This has a lot going on in this picture. This would be a lot more informal. So if you're going for a formal, I would take these Canis if you like a tropical vibe and do a planting here, and maybe a planting here. That would give you some symmetry and also the same height, which also adds to a formal look. This is a very textured garden. You've got different types of trees. You have long trees, wide trees, trees that have a little bit bigger leaves. You have some bit of formal boxwoods. Then you have some sort of a creeping ground cover that is very formal because it's all the same size. It almost looks like a grass. Then you have a nice, neat wall. Then you have, which looks like a Japanese maple. And then you have a lot of annuals. It looks like vinca, or it could be roses. And then you got another Japanese maple, which adds a lot of texture. Here's another, looks like maybe another Japanese maple of a different kind, and it adds a lot of texture. The more different plants you have of different textures, this is a very interesting home because you have formal near the house, and then it gets informal as you come out this way. This is a very nice look, and actually the water makes also a formal look going this way. It's all formal, but then you come out into this forest area and now you have informal. So he's blended the two. So this is a great picture to look at and view to see, oh, here's how you can blend formal and informal. It's very nice. The more texture you add, the more trees with different leaves. This even looks like it may be a weeping willow that's small. So decide what style you want and then get the magazine cutouts that you enjoy looking at, and we'll go from there. Okay, stretch. It's a rainy day, can't get out, too cold, but we got to do something. So keep moving and keep gardening through magazines for right now and just look through things for your April to May garden, and then stay creative. See if you can make some moves in your garden that would upgrade it to something that you would want to picnic in and enjoy. And I'll see you next time.